Today we will consider the nominations of Mr. Dudley Hoskins to be Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs and Dr. Scott Hutchins to be Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics. We welcome both of you to the committee and congratulate you on your nominations, and very importantly, thank you for your willingness to serve. Our farmers and ranchers continue to face challenges ranging from high input costs, elevated interest rates, an uncertain trade environment, and an ineffective, very ineffective farm safety net. Farmers across the country continue to struggle and are in desperate need of updated, responsive risk management tools. Secretary Rollins has led by example and has been a champion for agriculture, but the challenges facing the farm country highlight why it is so important she get her team in place. Today is another step towards making that happen. Starting with Mr. Hoskins, the Marketing and Regulatory Programs mission area is one of the most diverse and far-reaching responsibilities of USDA. From beef grading to organic agriculture, from foreign animal disease response to specialty crop pest, this mission area touches every farmer, every rancher, every processor, every marketer, every stakeholder in the agriculture value chain. This mission area houses two key federal agencies, the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service and the Agriculture Marketing Service. They do critical, often unnoticed work and play a vital role in keeping our nation's food system functioning. U.S. agriculture is currently facing threats from numerous pests and diseases. Right now, all eyes are on Mexico and the threat of New World screwworm. The Secretary's decision to close the border to live animal imports was not a light decision. Ensuring Mexico has proper protocols in place and eventually reopening the border will not be an easy task. This is why I believe it's so important to get Mr. Hoskins confirmed as soon as possible. Now to Dr. Hutchins, the Undersecretary for Research and Education Economics, is charged with advancing scientific knowledge related to agriculture through research, extension, and education. This mission area manages 4 key agencies, collects and disseminates critical data, and is the primary link between the federal government and our nation's premier agriculture institutions, our land-grant universities. These serve to develop the next generation of our agricultural workforce, as well as conduct world-class research. This mission area also works to ensure that the timely research and outcomes and discoveries developed at our land-grant institutions and by USDA's chief in-house research agency, the Agriculture Research Service, actually make it to the farm. The Cooperative Extension Service, truly a hallmark of U.S. agriculture, is the bridge between innovation and the producer. I'm grateful that Mr. Hoskins and Dr. Hutchins are nominated for such important roles at USDA, and I look forward to hearing their plans to serve American agriculture. I now turn to Ranking Member Klobuchar for her opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I welcome Mr. Hoskins and Dr. Hutchins. I'd like to also welcome Mr. Hoskins' parents and his wife, Jessica, back there, right? As well as Dr. Hutchins' wife, Janet. So thank you all for being here. As you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, the nominees, if confirmed, will oversee all the functions of the USDA that are very important to many people around this dais. You both have a strong record of experience within the department, and we look forward to today's discussion. I'll start with USDA's marketing and regulatory programs, vast reach. The most pressing challenge facing this mission area is protecting us and our industry and consumers from pests, diseases, including avian flu and New World screwworm. The Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service is on the front lines of this fight with dedicated employees working day in and day out to protect domestic producers from threats. Mr. Hoskins, as you and I discussed in our good and thorough meeting, I remain concerned over recent reporting of the loss of public service veterinarians at the USDA. These veterinarians are the first line of defense against animal diseases, and I hope you'll address that, and once you get in there, if you are confirmed, work to build up that workforce. Senator Hyde-Smith and I head up the Veterinarians Caucus, something people may not have known. Additionally, there you go. USDA's marketing and regulatory programs provide valuable support to our farmers through the Ag Marketing Service, from commodity procurement and specialty crop block grants to federal grain inspections and the National Organic Program. AMS works to expand market opportunities at home and abroad. AMS has also taken steps to improve price transparency and stop bad actors through several interagency efforts. In the face of continued consolidation across the ag industry, efforts to ensure fair rules of the road are more important than ever. We will also consider the nomination of Dr. Hutchins to be, we have a town in Minnesota called Hutchinson, as Senator Smith will attest to, Dr. Hutchins to be Undersecretary of Research, Education, and Economics, who has previous experience in the mission area as Deputy Undersecretary. As you and I discussed, Dr. Hutchins, I'm a strong supporter of ag research. It just makes economic sense. According to USDA's own estimates, every dollar invested in ag research yields $20 in economic returns. I appreciated when the chairman came to Minnesota and met with some of our leaders in ag research, and of course, I think we also all went, Senator Smith, Senator Boozman, and myself, to no other place in North Dakota at the invitation of Senator Hoeven to look at some of the research going on over there. As you and I discussed, I was disappointed to see President Trump's proposed over $600 million in cuts to the USDA's National Institute of Food and Ag in the fiscal year 2026 budget. I hope to work with my colleagues on this committee to ensure these proposed cuts are rejected, that we continue to keep ag research going strong. We're at a cusp of great developments with all the research that's been done, as well as the potential of using AI, if correctly used, to do even better, and the precision agriculture and the like. USDA's research agencies are critically important to advancing scientific research, supporting our land-grant universities, and educating students to lead in the field and in the boardroom. Our home state in Minnesota is home to the University of Minnesota, 4 1994 tribal colleges, and the ARS labs in Morris and St. Paul. Agencies within the MRP and RE mission areas are popular because of the high quality of work conducted by dedicated public servants. You can have strong leadership, but you have to have the public servants doing the work. And I've discussed with both of you the importance of keeping these employees on, recruiting people immediately when positions come open, and I hope to hear from all of you about your plans in each of your mission areas. So thank you very much, and thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you very much. It gives me great pleasure this morning to introduce the President's nominee to serve as the Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs, Mr. Dudley Hoskins. Before I give him too much praise, as was mentioned, we want to welcome his family who have joined us here today. Dudley's wife, Jessica Morse, Dudley's parents, Woody and Eugenia Hoskins, and Dudley's brother, Houston and Borden. We are delighted that you could join us at today's hearing. Dudley's the first member of my committee staff to be nominated for a position requiring Senate confirmation. I'm so pleased that he has agreed to serve the American people in this role, and I have full confidence that his considerable expertise, work ethic, and sense of humor will serve him well as the Undersecretary. During the first Trump administration, Dudley served as Senior Advisor to Secretary Perdue and Chief of Staff of Marketing and Regulatory Programs Mission Area. Mr. Hoskins previously worked for the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, the Responsible Industry for a Sound Environment, and the American Horse Council. He's a native of Texas and after completing his undergraduate degree at Tulane University, earned his law degree from Texas Wesleyan University. Dudley's is the right person, not the right problem, but the right person for this job. He's one of the most important missionaries at USDA. I have confidence in his abilities and his judgment to make sound recommendations that the Secretary will be in the long-term best interest of American agriculture. Our second nominee is Dr. Scott Hutchins. Dr. Hutchins is nominated to be Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics. Dr. Hutchins served during the last Trump administration as Deputy Undersecretary for this same mission area. Dr. Hutchins spent over 30 years with Dow Agri-Sciences and is an adjunct professor of entomology at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. He earned his PhD in entomology from Iowa State, a master's in entomology from Mississippi State, and an undergraduate degree from Auburn. You've been every place. This is great. Dr. Hutchins' wife, Janet, also is with us today, and welcome. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, Dr. Hutchins, for appearing before the committee, and again, we appreciate the fact that you're willing to serve. I look forward to your testimony. So with that, let's administer the oath and then begin with witness testimony. So each witness will have 5 minutes. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the statement you are about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Do you agree that if confirmed, you will respond to requests to appear and testify before any duly constituted committee of the Senate? Thank you. And now, Mr. Hoskins, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Well, Chairman Boozman, Ranking Member Klobuchar, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today as President Trump's nominee to serve as the Undersecretary for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Marketing and Regulatory Programs. I want to thank President Trump for nominating me to serve in this role, and I want to thank Secretary Rollins for her trust and confidence in supporting my nomination. I also want to thank the members of this committee, your respective staffs, and the non-designated clerks, Jesse Williams, Cindy Qualley, and Elisa Mendez, for the incredible honor and privilege to serve in support of this committee's members and mission over the past 4 years. Regardless of whether I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, I will forever treasure the time, experiences, and relationships I have been blessed with throughout my tenure serving this committee. Finally, I want to thank my family for your often tested but never wavering love and support. I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, recognizing my family and you, Ranking Member Klobuchar. I also want to do the same. My parents, Woody and Jenny, who are here in person. My sister, Aubrey, who's in Louisiana with her family today. My brothers, Houston and Borden, and sister-in-law, Catherine, who are in attendance. And my wife, Jessica, whose only real poor decision in life was agreeing to marry me. But that aside, I did not grow up in agriculture. Through happenstance, dumb luck, and great fortune, I fell into it and ultimately fell in love with it. After graduating law school, I came to D.C. with my dog Huckleberry, a law license, and no malpractice insurance. Like most experiences in my life, I've been a recipient of goodwill I didn't earn and good luck I didn't deserve. The combination of those two dynamics allowed me to work for the American Horse Council, the Responsible Industry for a Sound Environment, the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, and before joining the committee, the opportunity and privilege to serve at USDA under the first Trump administration, under then Secretary Perdue, in multiple capacities, one of which was in the MRP mission area for then Undersecretary Greg Ibaugh. Those experiences exposed me to the countless challenges and inner workings of the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service and the Agricultural Marketing Service, which in my very biased estimation are the two most critical, complex, and impactful agencies in forming the health and viability of U.S. agriculture. The people serving in the APHIS and AMS agencies are on their clock and at their post 24/7 as stewards and sentries, protecting our producers from incursions of devastating animal and plant pests and diseases, traveling across our rural communities to ensure price transparency through market news reporting, conducting bird control at airports, ensuring the highest confidence in our grading standards, reviewing and regulating certain agricultural biotechnologies, mitigating the impacts of feral hogs and other invasive species, and ensuring the integrity of research and promotion boards and countless marketing orders, just to name a few. In short, the career officials and subject matter experts tasked with this incredibly diverse mission set are the best in the world at what they do. And if confirmed, I commit to following Secretary Rollins' leadership and working every day to support the APHIS and AMS missions and helping U.S. farmers, ranchers, and foresters produce the safest, most affordable, and most abundant food and fiber in the world. To the members of the committee, I'm grateful for the time and opportunity to have met with many of you and your respective staffs before today's hearing. Those conversations were incredibly instructive in helping me better understand some of the challenges and opportunities impacting producers in your states and across the country. If confirmed, I will dedicate myself to delivering a transparent, predictable, and science-based regulatory structure to protect the health and viability of U.S. agriculture, mitigate the impact of animal and plant pests and diseases, and facilitate the timely delivery of critical marketing programs consistent with the spirit and intent of the law. Finally, I also want to note my gratitude and appreciation to my co-nominee, Dr. Hutchins. Regardless of what becomes of my nomination, if he is confirmed, USDA will be fortunate to have someone of his experience and capabilities leading the REE mission area. I thank the committee for the opportunity to appear before you today, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have for me.
Dr. Hutchins.
Good morning. Chairman Boozman, Ranking Member Klobuchar, and members of the committee, I am truly pleased to appear before you today as President Trump's nominee to the position of Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics for the United States Department of Agriculture. I'd like to sincerely thank President Trump for this opportunity and Secretary Rollins for her confidence and support with this nomination as well. I am myself a product, as you have read, of the land grant system, and therefore I feel a great sense of pride and honor to be considered for this position. And if confirmed, will certainly dedicate myself to fulfill the mission as outlined by Congress and to achieve the goals of USDA as outlined by Secretary Rollins. As you have already recognized, thank you for that, I would like to introduce my wife, Janet Hutchins from Alabama. We celebrate 45 years of marriage next month, and we have 3 wonderful adult children and 7 awesome grandchildren, all ages 12 and under. No one could ask for a better lifelong partner and supportive family. And I also want to thank my sisters Dawn and Candy in Georgia, along with extended family and friends watching virtually for their love and support through this process. Throughout my career, I have dedicated my professional passion toward developing innovations and novel technologies in support of agriculture production, working every day to provide tools that allow farmers to succeed in their businesses. For example, I was the Global Product Development Manager for Spinosad, which is a U.S. EPA Green Chemistry Award winner and a naturally derived insect management product that is today one of the most widely used insect management tools in agriculture and horticulture, both conventional and organic agriculture, within the United States and indeed globally. The history of agricultural productivity in the United States has been unlike any industry. Production has increased over 400% in the last century while using the same level of inputs, albeit different inputs, and with all that, less land. That's clearly the definition of sustainability. But often overlooked is the fact that the average lifespan of Americans has gone from 49 years of age to over 80 years of age in that same period. Modern U.S. agriculture, powered by U.S. farmers and ranchers, is the enabling reason we have a safe, abundant, and reliable food system. My professional journey as a scientist began at Auburn University as an undergraduate student in the late 1970s, where I benefited from excellent teachers and mentors in agricultural entomology and became passionate about helping growers manage devastating pest problems. I elected to pursue graduate studies at Mississippi State University and Iowa State University, where I became a student of integrated pest management. And I have been fortunate to have worked closely with numerous university teams and administrators throughout my career, along with scientific societies, to create and advance public-private partnerships. After a nearly 32-year career in the private sector, I was honored to serve as Deputy Undersecretary for Research, Education, Economics under the leadership of Secretary Perdue, where I experienced firsthand the talent and commitment of our federal agencies in research, education, and economics. And if confirmed, I look forward to continuing to support their critical mission with Secretary Rollins. The land-grant mission is timeless, and not only research, but also research made relevant through education and extension. I was honored to have met in person the Nobel laureate, Dr. Norman Borlaug, who inspired all of us to pursue with earnest innovation in agriculture as the very best way to ensure food security for all. Inasmuch as Congress has designated this role to also serve as the chief agricultural scientist for the United States, if confirmed, I will fulfill these responsibilities to the best of my ability through deliberate yet decisive formulation of recommendations to the Secretary, the President, and the Congress on key scientific issues and opportunities facing U.S. agriculture. Moreover, if confirmed, I commit to actively lead the REE team to create strategic initiatives and national priorities in line with the goals and objectives of the Secretary and Congress, with a renewed focus on impactful results and discovery goals. I have always truly valued teamwork, and I know Mr. Hoskins well from our previous time at USDA. He is the absolute best, as you already know, and if we are confirmed together, it will be an honor to work side by side with him and the Secretary's full team to collectively support U.S. agriculture. Chairman Boozman, Ranking Member Klobuchar, members of the committee, I am truly honored to have been nominated for this critical USDA role, and if confirmed, I pledge to do all I can each and every day to improve the lives and livelihoods of farmers, ranchers, and all Americans through the work of the research, education, and economics agencies. Thank you so much for the privilege of appearing in front of the committee today, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Well, thank you both for your testimony. We will now begin with one round of questions. Each member will have 5 minutes. Before I ask my questions, I'd like to add letters of support from various groups for Mr. Hoskins and Dr. Hutchins, and for their nomination into the record. Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Hoskins, USDA has been challenged by avian flu for quite some time now, and recent developments of New World screwworm moving closer to our southern border are more than troubling. You've had some experience in handling foreign animal disease threats in your prior roles at USDA with the State Departments of Agriculture. If confirmed, how will you address the current threats facing U.S. agriculture, and how will you ensure USDA stays ready to meet new challenges?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the time you extended to me in your office before today's hearing. I know you raised this issue and a multiple of other priorities for you and producers in Arkansas. When it comes to high-path AI or screwworm or whatever's on deck next, African swine fever, FMD, the disease of the day, in my estimation, all of those things require an all-hands-on deck. There's a federal component in equity that obviously APHIS and veterinary services plays a huge instrumental role in driving. There's also the relationships and partners with states, state animal health officials, and impacted producers and industry stakeholders. So if I were confirmed, I would do everything in my power to support Secretary Rollins, implement her 5-pronged approach that she rolled out to address high-path AI, better understand and assess the risks from screwworm from Mexico, and work to understand what, if anything, veterinary services and the APHIS team needed or wanted in support or permission to better execute their mandate to protect U.S. agriculture.
Very good. Dr. Hutchins, thank you for meeting with me a couple weeks ago, which I really enjoyed. I appreciate the discussion we had about the importance of the National Agriculture Law Center, and if you are confirmed, I look forward to working with you to see that the center remains successful and able to continue serving American agriculture. The partnership between USDA and our nation's agriculture universities is so important. This distinguishes distinguishes U.S. agriculture research from the rest of the world. It's a partnership between the federal government, the states, and local decision makers. We don't have a system where Washington, D.C. tells universities what to research, and states must have skin in the game. In the end, farmers, ranchers, and consumers ultimately benefit. And you mentioned in your testimony the tremendous strides that agriculture had made compared to almost anything. If you're confirmed, what will you do to continue to lead this partnership with our nation's agriculture universities, which you are, as you mentioned, so much a product of?
Thank you, Senator. And I, too, very much enjoyed our conversation the other week. As I've indicated, and as hopefully it's clear from my demeanor, I'm a huge passionate fan of land-grant institutions. The whole model has been a game changer, and it really has enabled the United States to make the difference. What would I be able to do? What I hope to be able to do, sir, is to develop a set of national priorities and focus on discovery goals so that we can channel the tremendous talent of these institutions in partnership as well with the federal agencies towards solving some of the bigger issues and challenges, some of which would be in partnership, of course, with Mr. Hoskins' organization, if he's confirmed, in order to address challenges. But I'm also very positive on the possibility of developing new opportunities for markets for our agricultural products, new opportunities for technology advancements, and to put those in place first so that the United States agricultural system is always leading the world as early adopters of innovation and staying ahead of the curve for productivity and profitability and relevance.
Very good. Mr. Hoskins, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, APHIS, is the gold standard for certifying both plant and animal health safety. We've seen many countries put up unscientific trade barriers. APHIS then is called in to help defend the integrity of our ag products. One focus of this administration's trade agenda is to crack down on these types of unfair barriers, which are in many ways even worse than the tariff barriers. How do you view the role of APHIS and the broader effect to ensure our producers can compete on a level playing field?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman. In my estimation, the APHIS family, both on the PPQ side and the veterinary services side, when we're talking about sanitary and phytosanitary non-tariff trade irritants, the APHIS family plays an essential role in prosecuting the science of those barriers and hopefully persevering with their colleagues and counterparts around the world to help them understand where there's risk and where there is not. And if I were confirmed, I would do everything in my power to give the APHIS subject matter experts the permission and support they needed to fully prosecute those non-tariff trade issues on a scientific basis and support their outcomes.
Very good. Senator Klobuchar.
Very good. Thank you. I'll start with you, Mr. Hoskins. As you and I talked over the last 3 years in the U.S. avian flu, spread from wild birds to poultry operations, and most recently to dairy cattle. Mr. Hoskins, as we enter the third year of this most recent outbreak, what are your priorities on this virus, and how will you ensure the response includes all impacted industry groups, including turkeys and dairy cattle?
Thank you for the question, Ranking Member Klobuchar, and thank you for the time you extended to me in your office. I know you raised this issue and a number of others. The visit with you in your office was much more pleasant than my staff interview with your committee staff. But I would just say, when it comes to high-path AI specifically and just the diversity of production systems that disease has impacted, obviously eggs, broilers, turkeys, which you're number one in, and the dairy side of the equation. The all-hands approach, five-pronged approach that Secretary Rollins rolled out, to me is absolutely the right direction and compass to help get us out of this quagmire with high-path AI. And one component of that could be vaccine development and deployment. What I've committed to you, and if confirmed, what I would commit to this committee is that if there were a vaccine consideration to be utilized, that would be science-based. It would be based on the efficacy of that vaccine, and it is something that the entire stakeholder community would be consulted on, because regardless of one production system that you may vaccinate for, it could have implications for other production systems, both on a domestic level and an international market access level. So I would commit to giving the Secretary all the information and tools she needed to make the most informed decision possible.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hutchins, if confirmed, what role do you see for research, education, and economics in your mission area playing to go into the response to avian flu?
Thank you, Senator, and thank you as well for the time yesterday. I enjoyed that very much, and I actually also enjoyed the time with your staff.
Well, thank you. That will be duly noted, Mr. Hoskins. Okay.
The Research, Education, Economics organization has a phenomenal capability and capacity to deal with these types of scenarios with the NBAF facility in Kansas, as well as the veterinary laboratories in Ames and other places. So the science and the capabilities there are unmatched in the world. And what's other thing that's unmatched is the partnership that these agencies have with the agencies of MRE. So what can we do to advance it? We can continually look for the most promising science development. We can utilize the new tools and technologies and AI to identify ways to not just mitigate, but to prevent these kinds of scenarios. And in some ways, it's also related to the context of invasive species, invasive organisms. And so we have the capability to work hand in hand to develop the best methods to eliminate those. So
Thanks. Very good. Thank you. Ag research in general, I voiced my concerns about this proposed budget. Could you talk about how you will advocate for ag research?
Certainly. I've always been an advocate for ag research, but at a higher level, I've been an advocate for the outcomes that ag research leads to, the results, the solutions, the opportunities. It's certainly the prerogative of Congress to provide the funding, but what I can commit to you, Senator, is that whatever funding is provided, we will make the absolute best use of it to benefit our farmers and ranchers and consumers, and that would be my firm commitment to you in this committee.
Administration's buyout program for career employees resulted in the loss of 1,600 people from your mission area with research, including over 1,200 staff from the Ag Research Service. That's an 18% loss of total workforce when we're already looking for ag scientists. Simply put, without staff, I think we know this research, no matter what AI does, is not going to happen. So how are you going to make sure that this loss of expertise won't affect the area, and how will you improve things?
Thank you for that question. So for sure, what we will need to do is take a look at the resources that are provided, the status of the situation we have in each of the agencies, and as with any organization, look to ensure that we're focused on the most important outcomes and on the most important projects and programs that benefit farmers, ranchers, the American public, and then target the resources we do have toward that and ensure that we fill those key positions that are vacant that will allow us to succeed in that way.
Okay. Thanks. And last question, Mr. Hoskins. The National Animal Health Lab Network Office has lost half its staff, and that's about testing, quality assurance, and the Vet Services Office is currently set to lose 23% of its workforce. So just talk about how you'll ensure that APHIS continues to protect our domestic ag from threats and is not undermined by the staff or funding cuts.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Ranking Member Klobuchar. It's your point, the National Animal Health Laboratory Network is a critical asset to the federal government when it comes to early detection, surveillance of animal diseases. I think there's 62 facilities around 42 states within the NAHL network. I can't sit here today and speak intelligently to the staffing assessment, having not been at the department and privy to those briefings. What I've can point to is the Secretary's comments publicly that she stated APHIS will have the adequate workforce needed to address their mission and their mandate, which priority one is protecting the health and viability of U.S. agriculture.
Thank you.
Senator Hyde-Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member, and congratulations to both of you, and I welcome your families. I also welcome some Mississippi legislators. We have 4 legislators here from our Ag committees. We have Senator Neil Wally, we have Senator Andy Berry, Representative Vince Mango, and Representative Bill Pygott. Welcome, and thank you for attending this hearing. As it's been discussed many times, Mr. Hoskins, our livestock and poultry industries rely heavily on how USDA acts to protect our nations from foreign animal diseases. And we're currently experiencing a year-long outbreak of high-path avian influenza that has cost poultry and livestock producers tens of millions of dollars in lost flocks, biosecurity expenses, and disruption to domestic and international markets. You and I also recently discussed the outbreak of the New World screwworm in Mexico that has the potential to be very destructive in the U.S. livestock industry if we don't act now. So diseases like African swine fever and foot and mouth disease are always too close for comfort, and we're quickly learning how important it is to be prepared for these outbreaks. I've long supported efforts to strengthen programs to help our producers prepare and respond to animal disease outbreaks. I applaud Secretary Rollins and the Trump administration for how they've handled these challenges already in the administration. And how do you plan to build on this work to ensure USDA is using its disease response resources to act quickly and effectively to protect American agriculture from these threats? And if confirmed, how can we support your work in tackling these challenges as a body?
Well, thank you for that question, Senator, and for the time you allotted me in your office before today's hearing. I know you raised this issue and a multitude of others. I guess when I think about the infrastructure that exists at APHIS to address animal diseases, I think first and foremost to the 2018 Farm Bill, where this committee and members on this committee helped lead the effort to get the three-legged stool codified into law, which included the non-lab network, the NADPREP, Disease Prevention Response Program, and the Vaccine and Veterinary Countermeasures Bank. To me, that is a critical toolbox to APHIS in addressing and working with state partners in addressing animal disease issues. If I were confirmed, I would look to double down and help implement and expedite Secretary Rollins' 5-point plan on high-path AI. I'd want to get clear-eyed in an assessment about what's working well and what's not, and if there's challenges with the biosecurity pieces, how can we best plug and play the agency's resources to help producers meet that mandate. And with screwworm, that is a devastating, just scary disease parasite, and what it does to the host is it's almost 100% fatal without detection and intervention. In Texas, I think the department eradicated screwworm in the 1960s. So Secretary Rollins clearly took decisive action to prevent a potential incursion of screwworm. I would do everything I could to support that work, both with APHIS and the states and the stakeholder industry, to ensure we had the all-hands-on-deck approach we need.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Hutchins, Mississippi is a leader in agriculture research and very proud of the work that we have done across the state, especially in one of your alma maters, Mississippi State University. And as you know, these research initiatives support American farmers and ranchers in so many ways, including developing and improving crop genetics, advancing animal health capabilities, and creating new tools to fight diseases and pests that adversely affect production agriculture. In my lifetime, I have seen yields increase up to 400% at times because of these advancements, which must continue if we're going to provide a safe, abundant, affordable food supply. How will you work to strengthen partnerships with our land-grant universities and pave the way for new scientific advancements in American agriculture through the National Institute of Food and Agriculture and the Agricultural Research Service.
Senator, thank you for the question. Thank you for the time, and Hail State. So pleased to be here and address that. As I've indicated previously, the land-grant institutions are on the front lines of many of these issues. They have the talent, they have the ability to educate and use extension. And at Mississippi State, for example, not so much a screwworm, but they had a very similar scenario with the boll weevil. And the ARS boll weevil lab, combined with Mississippi State University, actually developed a lot of the techniques and so forth to eradicate that and, if you will, push it back down into South America. So we'll definitely put the land-grant institutions at the tip of the spear to address these issues and do everything we can to support.
Thank you very much.
Senator Smith.
Thank you very much, Chair Boozman and Ranking Member, and welcome both of you to the committee. Dr. Hutchins, thanks so much for our meeting yesterday. I appreciated the conversation, and I want to just follow up on that discussion. So I believe that both you and I agree that in the face of the very challenging farm economy and in a world where many producers are not breaking even, that a focus on research and innovation is really crucial. And as you know, because I know you visited them, we have two Agriculture Research Service labs in Minnesota. They're very important to Minnesota producers. They rely on them. They both are doing very different kinds of work, as you know, very different kinds of research. And so my question to you is, what commitments can you make to me and the committee that those two facilities will remain open and will not suffer further staff reductions as we're seeing in different parts of the USDA?
Thank you, Senator Smith, for that question, and thank you for the time as well. So what's clear with what's happening is that we will need to step back and look at each of these facilities. I believe ARS currently has over 90 facilities. Each of them were developed with a very effective mission focus. Some of those missions have been continued to add a lot of value. Others perhaps have migrated to other areas of focus, such as the boll weevil lab I just mentioned. So what I can commit to you, Senator, is that I will personally do an objective assessment of all these facilities, understand the value proposition that they're providing to not just the Minnesota farmers, but to farmers more broadly, and to put together proposals and advocate for how we maintain the capability to provide the solutions, provide the innovations, and provide leading edge approaches to all aspects of agriculture production.
I appreciate that. I don't hear quite what I'm looking for, but I would just urge you as you go forward, realizing the scope of control you have here, that as you're making those decisions and doing that assessment, that you're talking directly with farmers and ranchers and producers who rely on what those research facilities are providing, so that you have a good view of what is to be lost and what is to be gained if they stay there as a resource for producers.
Yes, ma'am. They're there for those stakeholders, and I really want to hear, understand, and appreciate the challenges that they're facing and how we can assist.
Thank you very much. I want to ask, follow up on another thing that we talked about yesterday as farmers and producers are dealing with an increasing number of extreme weather events, heat, flooding, you name it. We had a discussion about the importance of making sure that we are doing everything we can to help producers adapt. I know this is something that you've spent a lot of time on in your career, as for example, we talked about the impact of different bugs and invasive species that can shift and move as the climate changes. And so could you just talk a bit about that and how you would orient USDA research to ensure that producers have the opportunity to do the long-term adaptation that's going to be required?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. So absolutely. I feel strongly that the science and the technology that we have in hand and that continues to develop, I'm talking about gene technologies, I'm talking about abilities to make the plant resistant to drought and heat, I'm talking about and insects. So there's all kinds of technologies that are evolving and developing in the digital world, as well as in the genetic world. And University of Minnesota is a leading breeding, teaching, and learning institution that I have every confidence we'll be able to address these if we're allowed and permitted to develop the kind of tools and put them to practice the way I think we all hope that we can. There are not any, I think, challenges in front of us that we cannot address in an effective way if we're able to utilize the science and technology that we can already see in front of us.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Let me give a shout out to Mike McCormick, President of the Mississippi Farm Bureau. We do appreciate working with you and all that you represent in Mississippi, the great job that you all do. Roger, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm sorry, Senator Marshall.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ranking Member, welcome to both of our nominees and congratulations. We look forward to supporting your nominations. I think my first question is for Mr. Hoskins. Part of your role is marketing and regulatory programs. So talk a little bit about pesticides and fertilizers and your interaction with EPA and HHS now as well. And again, I'll just start by sharing, I'm so proud of what we've done in agriculture. We're growing more with less. We're using a fraction of those pesticides and fertilizers that we used to. This committee is doing everything we can to have decreased amounts of those ever reach the waters as well. But what will your role be in interacting with the other departments?
So thank you for the question, Senator, and for the time you extended to me in your office last week. I know you raised this issue and a number of other priorities on behalf of Kansas agriculture producers. I would just say when I think about that question, I'm thinking about it through the lens of the APHIS AMS mandate that Congress has given it, and I think regardless of whether it's a fertilizer, an input, a crop protection tool, a biotechnology innovation, all of those things are so critical to the producers to produce the most abundant, most affordable, safest food supply in the world. And as a federal government, my hope would be we would facilitate that innovation and technology and not frustrate it. So if I were confirmed, I would commit to you to stand behind the science and ensure the agency actions, whether it's registrations or reviews or approval, are consistent with both on a technical level, this most sound science we have in front of us, and consistent with the mandate that Congress has given the agencies to operate under.
Great, thank you. Dr. Hutchins, I'll go to you next. We want to talk about NBAF, the National Bio-Agro-Defense Facility. Have you had the chance to go there yet?
Thank you, Senator. I did when it was in under construction.
Right.
So
okay, well, good. So you're very familiar with what it is and what it means to American agriculture as well. But it's still not open, and I think it's a year or two, and it's not because of the construction part of it. The construction was done, as I understand, pretty much on time, on budget. But do you have any idea, and I know you're not confirmed yet, do you have any idea why it's not been opened yet, and what is your level of commitment to make that happen?
Senator, I do not. I have literally not had any access to that or any information since 2021. So my commitment to you is that if I'm confirmed, I will definitely look into that, understand the details, and problem solve from that point.
Well, it's my understanding that they're dragging the feet because the Plum Island facility is dragging its feet to get shut down. But the people, American taxpayers, have invested significant money in NBAF. It's the safest place in the world to do this type of research, and that's where it needs to be done. Would you agree?
That's the premise behind the whole facility when we send a memorandum of agreement, and so that's still my working premise, that it's absolutely the best and the world-class facility, and that's where that work should be conducted.
Okay. I think in your previous tenure at USDA, you were involved with the relocation of ERS and NIFA to Kansas City, the greater Kansas City metro area. Any idea, has that been a success? Is it working well? To us, I think it's really important to get people closest to the producers as possible. This is one of, I hope, many, many future opportunities for people to get out of the swamp here and get them out in the hinterlands, us fly over states and see what's really happening in agriculture.
Senator, I was involved with that, and at Secretary Perdue's direction. We did develop that, and prior to my departure, we did actually open the facility there in Kansas City. You might also recall that that was kind of right in the middle of the COVID scenarios as well. I do not know at present what the current status is of the building, the context, and the rest of it, but I was personally on site the day that it opened, and I met individually with every single NIFA and ERS individual that was there, and every single one of them that was there was delighted to be in the Kansas City region, and the recruitment at the time was being very, very successful. So I will commit to you to understand what the current status is and to make sure that the original promises are fulfilled that Secretary Perdue had outlined.
Well, great. After you're confirmed, if possible, your staff might just follow up with me and let us know how that's going and whatever we can do to support future endeavors like that as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you all being here today as well. Mr. Hoskins, I'd like to start with a question directed to you. As you may know, New Mexico has two ports of entry that serve as major entry points for livestock imports, the Columbus Port of Entry and the Santa Teresa Port of Entry. Both ports of entry were closed to livestock imports in November of '24 and again earlier this month to prevent the spread of the New World screwworm. While the Santa Teresa Port of Entry reopened for livestock imports in February of '25, before being closed again earlier this month, the Columbus Port of Entry remained closed to livestock during this time. My understanding, based on communication with USDA, is that due to the Trump administration's reduction in force efforts, there were not enough animal health technicians in Columbus, New Mexico, for that port of entry to reopen in February. My question, Mr. Hoskins, is yes or no? If confirmed, will you commit to ensuring that there are adequate inspectors stationed at the Columbus Port of Entry, specifically in animal health, to reopen that port to livestock crossings when it is safe to do so?
Thank you for the question, Senator, and the opportunity to visit with your staff before today's hearing. I know you're looking for a yes or no answer. I guess I would say it, and not to be evasive, not being at the department and not being briefed on staffing decisions and assessments and needs. What I could commit to is just that, if confirmed, I would ensure APHIS met its congressional mandate to protect U.S. agriculture from animal, plants, and diseases. And I would support and implement Secretary Rollins' direction where she has stated publicly APHIS will have the adequate staffing and resources needed to meet its mandate.
Do you believe that animal health technicians are important in the mission of USDA?
Yes, Senator, I do.
I appreciate that. I hope that that's expressed to the Secretary and to the administration. I very much appreciate the attention from the Secretary in this space, but there aren't enough inspectors. The more people that are going to get fired, the less that are going to be available. That's going to hurt efforts all around the South. And it shouldn't just be Texas that gets attention. If you go down and you look at where those animals are crossing, you know, more people cross into Texas through those ports of entry. More commerce is moving through some of those smaller ports, namely agriculture in New Mexico. So if we're going to look at this from a United States perspective, I certainly hope it gets that kind of attention. I'm also very concerned that the loss of staff at USDA resulting from the Trump administration efforts have undermined the agency's ability to serve people back home. And I also get calls from people in other parts of the country that I've met along the way that are very concerned with some of these initial reports. Many USDA staff who have dedicated their careers to serving farm country and rural America at USDA have very specific knowledge base and specialties and make a difference in people's lives. Several media outlets reported that just days after the administration's deferred resignation offer went into effect, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service sent an email to remaining employees offering, quote, lateral transfer opportunities to fill 73 open positions that are especially critical to fill as soon as possible. Now, Mr. Hoskins, you spent a significant portion of your career working at USDA, first as the Chief of Staff in Marketing and Regulatory Programs Mission, and later as Senior Advisor to Secretary Perdue. Do you agree that career staff play a critical role in maintaining operations at the agency?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Yes, in my experience working with APHIS and AMS, the career staff and the subject matter experts are absolutely indispensable.
I appreciate you saying that, and that is the case. You know, I don't know where a lot of folks back home would be without that kind of support. And I certainly hope that as this review is going on, that adequate levels of support will exist for farmers and ranchers across the country. And you're one of the best that knows this. I mean, you've done it. You've seen it. And so I certainly hope that your voice will be listened to when you're in this important position. Now, in recent years, New Mexico's experienced an unprecedented number of extreme weather events, including wildfires, droughts, severe storms, and flooding. In western states like New Mexico, it's just getting more and more common. It's critical for our food supply and for the livelihood of our farmers and producers that the federal government invest in adapting production techniques to respond to extreme weather. Dr. Hutchins, if confirmed, how would you ensure that USDA responds to changing weather patterns that are resulting in more extreme weather?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. The USDA, particularly for crops that you're familiar with in your state, has got tremendous breeding capabilities to be able to build in some of these areas of tolerance, whether it's heat or drought or what have you. When I was working with USDA previously, I'd sat down with the breeding leaders and asked them to incorporate within their goals the things that are most important for the particular crops and regions. And so I would look to continue that focus to ensure that our crops and our animals are able to be resilient with the various year-to-year weather patterns that
Appreciate
exist.
it. Just to be clear, this is an area that you will prioritize and you'll continue to do the good work that you've done in the past.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Hoven.
I'd like to thank both of you for being here. Appreciate it very much. Starting with you, Mr. Hoskins, if confirmed, will you fully enforce the Packers and Stockyards Act?
Thank you, Senator, and for the time you and your staff afforded me in your office before today's hearing. Yes, if confirmed, I would work with the AMS Fair Trade Practices Program and the career officials implementing the Packers and Stockyards Act to ensure it was implemented consistent with the law.
The industry is always wanting more price discovery, more transparency, and more competition. What are your thoughts on accomplishing that?
So I would note a couple of different things. One, your leadership and other members on this committee in facilitating the cattle contract library and other resources that AMS has adopted over the recent years to bring more transparency into some of the back operation side of that work stream from producers to feeders and packers. I would also just note Congress in the 1921 Packers and Stockyards Act stated very clearly the agency shall ensure fair competition and prevent anti-competitive practices in livestock, beef, and poultry. Since that time, there's been a lot of different rulemakings in different administrations, a lot of litigation across different circuit courts. So what my personal interpretation of some of those terms of art, I think, is largely immaterial. If confirmed, it would be my role to implement the program consistent with the congressional intent and the way courts have informed and decided what those terms of art mean. I would also just note a close family friend and mentor who passed away about a year ago, cattleman in South Texas, who's a devout Catholic. He said God may have created the earth in less than a week, but he still hadn't figured out cattle markets. So.
Well, your background in and expertise in this area shows, and you're right. What do you see in terms of expanding our ability overseas in terms of marketing our livestock?
Thank you for that question, Senator. I think APHIS on the veterinary side, when you're talking about sanitary non-tariff trade irritants, plays an absolutely essential role in prosecuting market access at a technical level. And regardless of me or whoever else would be in that role, I think as long as the subject matter experts are the one driving those technical conversations and effectively being umpires, calling balls and strikes, and their political leadership stands behind the science, then I think we're all set up for success. If we step back from that mandate, I think we're all facing a lot of challenges.
Right on, and we have to be firm and aggressive there. We can't allow fake phytosanitary barriers to prevent us from accessing markets. And by the same token, we need to protect our market. Everybody wants to be in our market, and if there are, various issues with some of those phytosanitary issues where from South America or anywhere else where they're trying to put livestock in our market, we need to stand firm on both ways, right? You'd agree with that?
Yes, Senator, I would.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Hutchins, I would like to get you to North Dakota to see Grand Farm and also our policy center at North Dakota State University. Are you willing to come do that?
Yes, Senator, very much so. I know the Secretary's already been there, and the comments I read that she wrote she was very impressed.
Well, it sounds like you're going to be an excellent Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics based on that answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
At this point, we'll turn to Senator Fetterman.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen. Yes. So now I know this isn't your purview, and I'm not going to just go on in a rant, but this is the last opportunity that I would have to say as a member of this committee that I've been very troubled that now it's very clear that they are going to try to cut SNAP. And now for me, it's always been a very passion of mine, and one of the reasons why I was so excited to be on this committee. And now that vote's coming, so this is my last opportunity to say that as in a minority situation, we may not have the vote to prevent those kind of a thing, but that doesn't mean I could ever support these kinds of cuts. And Mr. Hoskin, the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement Program, LFPA, was successfully doing all of those things to create and promote small local food system viability. And according to 1,433 farmers in the organizations, including 31 in PA, LFPA generated $747 million in economic activity in rural communities. And I ask the chair, with unanimous consent, that their letter be entered into the record.
Without objection.
Okay, thank you. Sir, do you agree that the USDA has the authority to promote market access for small farms?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator, and I appreciated the time and conversation with your staff in your office the other week. Your staff raised this very issue and a number of other priorities you're focused on behalf of Pennsylvania agriculture. Yes, I do think AMS, through congressional codification and different laws this committee and the Congress has passed, including the 18 Farm Bill, has a number of programs and authorities to facilitate local food purchasing and promotion.
No, and again, yes, I'd also like to be clear. I actually voted for Secretary Rollins. I mean, for me, agriculture, I mean, red, blue, conservative, liberal, everybody eats, and we all count on our agriculture things. So now for me, it's not about politics. It's about feeding people and supporting farming, and that's our largest industry in my state. And so, do you agree that the beneficial for states like mine to be able to directly address their local food systems?
So, thank you for the question, Senator. My awareness on some of the authorities and programs under the Agricultural Marketing Service is that this committee in Congress has given that agency purview and mandate to facilitate some of those programs and purchases and facilitate the resiliency of the local food system. So if I'm understanding, and I'm not trying to be evasive, but to be responsive, if I were confirmed, I would commit.
I'm not suggesting you are, sir. I'm not suggesting you are.
I would commit to ensuring AMS met its congressional mandate under those programs.
All right, yield.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Fetterman. And next up, Senator Moran.
Senator Klobuchar, Senator Hoeven, thank you very much for leading this committee in the absence of Senator Boozman. Thank you both for being here. I'm going to plow similar ground to my colleague from Kansas plowing of earlier in the hearing. I want to highlight again this issue of NBAF, and I have had conversations with Secretary Rollins a couple of times about this topic. And NBAF is $1.25 billion American investment in the safety of our food supply, and it's still not fully operational. The handoff from the Department of Homeland Security, as you know, occurred now a significant period of time ago. The former Secretary of Agriculture was there to help cut the ribbon, and yet we're still not fully operational. And I'm really anxious to get your attention, if you're confirmed, to make certain that the Department of Agriculture, that USDA, takes the necessary steps to get this fully commissioned and operational. And I would join Senator Hoeven, and I can join him in telling you you're a great nominee if you'll commit to coming with me, Senator Marshall and others, to see NBAF and to take a leadership at the Department of Agriculture in this regard. Dr. Hoskins. Excuse me, Dr. Hutchins.
Senator, thank you for the question. Certainly, you have that commitment. When I was in USDA previously, it was in a formative stage of that. Construction was moving forward. The agreements were in place. I really need to learn and understand where we are right now, but certainly that will be my commitment to you.
At least from this interested observer, it doesn't seem like we're moving fast enough to solve whatever challenges there are. And in the meantime, research that was mentioned in your testimony is not taking place in regard to FMD until that happens. There are lots of critical challenges we face that need NBAF fully operational. And Senator Marshall also asked you about the relocation of NIFA and ERS. My understanding is that Secretary Vilsack confirmed the decision that was made by the Trump administration, the last Trump administration, the previous Trump administration, and allowed those jobs to be transferred and the mission to be transferred to Kansas City. But what didn't take place was actually having employees come to work. And so in some ways, the transfer was a paper transfer in which people continued to live and work in Washington, D.C. remotely, but it appeared to be that the jobs and the opportunities for people to locate in the middle of the country and perhaps have young farm sons and daughters engaged in agriculture and strengthen the tie between production agriculture and research was yet not completed. And again, I'd ask your commitment that, and you said this earlier, but I want to reiterate the importance of making sure that what was promised, what was believed that was happening, actually happens. That includes people working from the location of the offices in Kansas City.
Senator, you have my commitment. I believe there have been executive orders with regard to office attendance and such as that, and we will ensure that those are followed at the direction of the President.
I fully support the idea that people who work in government, but those who work ought to be at work. And it's particularly helpful in agriculture and in research where the cooperation, the personal contact is important. And we've had these conversations with Secretary Rollins and others about FSA and NRCS workers in county offices. Those are hugely important to the mission of the Department of Agriculture, and that local contact and capability is significant. Let me ask Dr. Hutchins about data reporting. The cattle industry plays a significant role in our state. We have nearly 6 million head of cattle. We've had significant drought conditions, and their financial stresses are impacting ranchers, and they impact them in a way that help determine the size of their herd. Many of those constituents of mine rely upon the July cattle report, as well as the county estimates for crops and livestock, to make mid-year assessments and determine how to proceed for the remainder of the year. I was disappointed when these reports were discontinued last year, and I appreciate USDA reinstating them this March. Dr. Hutchins, if confirmed, will you commit to continuing these reports and other NAS that NAS provides that give farmers and ranchers the information they need to make better financial and management decisions?
Senator, yes, the National Ag Statistics Service provides the data and the insights that farmers, administrators, policymakers need to make good decisions. As a scientist, I'm a big believer in data and data-driven decisions, and so yes, that type of information will be pursued.
I won't ask a question because of the 16 seconds that remain on the clock, but I wanted to highlight that Senator Haro and I.
You can.
Thank you. Oh, my colleague says I can't. Senator Horono and I have introduced legislation called the Ag Research Act. And what we're attempting to do is to provide funding for research institutions to cut down on their maintenance backlogs and to invest in infrastructure at research facilities. I've seen a number of those research facilities across the country and in Kansas, and investment in infrastructure seems to be the thing that has been overlooked in the mission of providing the research. We've forgotten how to maintain our buildings and our research and how to have the latest equipment. I assume for both of you that concept and that legislation would be something that would be supported, and I'd ask both of you if that's the case.
Senator, the good news about our land grant system is that it's been established for a long time. The bad news is some of those buildings and capital need to be refreshed and refurbished and so forth. And so certainly I can commit to you that whatever funding is provided by Congress, that we will make the best use of that to ensure the facilities are improved.
Thank you.
And Senator, I wouldn't endeavor to try to improve on Dr. Hutchins' response, but I would concur with it.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you both.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Slotkin.
Thank you. Welcome to both of you. Dr. Hutchins, I want to continue on what Senator Moran was talking about, which is the importance of research. I'm from Michigan, and farming is a huge part of our life, and Michigan State University, great land grant university, does a ton of agricultural research. I grew up on my family farm in Holly, Michigan, so this is an issue that's close to my heart. But I'm also a CIA officer by training, so I think about agriculture through a national security lens. And what I'm concerned about is that, assuming you'll be confirmed into your job, you will oversee the single potential largest cut to agricultural research in American history. The president's budget proposes a $600 million cut to research. And while I am I'll sign on to any bill that promotes research and infrastructure because my farmers depend on it. What I'm concerned about is the president's budget says that there's $600 million of agricultural research that's either woke or waste. Do you believe that $600 million of our current research in things like potato, varietals and legumes and all the things that my farmers are desperate for, do you believe that we have $600 million of either woke or wasteful research right now?
Senator, thank you for the question. Truthfully, in order to answer that question in any meaningful way, I need to understand the specifics of what's being proposed and what's not. I have no idea the value of what's in that context, but what I can commit to you, Senator, is that we will utilize whatever money Congress provides in order to ensure that we're having the best return on investment, that we're supporting all the farmers that we can in your state and others.
I would just say you don't want to be the guy who oversees the biggest agricultural cut in research in American history. Tell me, in your best estimation, the one country in the world who's doing significant agricultural research now, that's investing heavily in agricultural research, besides the United States?
Senator, I'm sure it would be China.
It's got to be China. And I'm not trying to play gotcha. I'm just saying that it's a zero-sum situation, right? We want to invent the next varietal. We want to figure out the next best farming technique. And China is stealing our technology, our intellectual property, and then investing boatloads into their own research. So I don't want to be second to them. I want to always be the world leader. And I would just offer that not only do I want that kind of as a national security thing, but our farmers want to be able to compete, right? We've closed the legume research facility at Michigan State University, the potato variety. When I do town halls with farmers, who are, I promise you, not people I consider woke or wasteful. They are the ones who are saying, can you bring that back? Can you help me figure out how to get that? Because otherwise, what are we going to be investing in? How are we going to stay competitive? So I would just ask for you to stand up on behalf of that research, which isn't woke, which isn't wasteful, but is going to the farmers who we all, I think, on this committee want to protect and want to see succeed. I just ask you to stand up for research when and if you're confirmed for this job.
Senator, Secretary Rollins has made it very clear her support for small farmers and their needs, and I will stand with her on that regard.
Well, I hope you will. Let me just turn to Mr. Hoskins. You'll be overseeing the departments that look at avian flu, right, that make sure that we don't have an outbreak. Michigan, we had an early outbreak, and we did, I think, a pretty darn good job of controlling it. And I think we've become a model around the country. But again, I'm concerned that there's been firings from the Department of Agriculture of people who work on avian flu and then rehiring them the next week. There's been kind of this sloppy approach. And then in terms of the buyouts that were offered, I understand that over half of the veterinarians who coordinate the testing and research on avian flu took the buyout. So what are you going to do to make sure that with all the staffing firings and changings and voluntary departures, you're going to still be able to have a handle on the next version of avian flu?
So thank you for the question, Senator, and for the time your staff gave me in your office before today's hearing. They raised this issue and a number of others. Obviously, with High Path in Michigan, you all have a diversity of production practices that are impacted both on the poultry and dairy side. I've looked at Secretary Rollins' five-prong approach in addressing mitigating high path AI. And if I were confirmed, I would do everything I could to implement that post-haste. To your question on staffing, as someone who's not at the department currently, I'm not privy to the briefings or assessments of resource needs or gaps, if any. But what I would commit to, if confirmed, was making that assessment and supporting and standing by Secretary Rollins' public comments that she will ensure APHIS has an adequate workforce to address their core mission, which includes protecting U.S. agriculture from animal and plant diseases.
Well, I wish you luck in that. I hope you do. Thank you. Yield back.
Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to both of our nominees that are here today. I really appreciate you putting yourselves forward in order to serve this country. First, Mr. Hoskins, I thank you for taking the time to meet with me yesterday. As we discussed, there are clearly challenges facing USDA with animal disease, whether it's avian flu or New World screwworm. We also discussed the importance of having science being the driving force when it comes to regulatory actions that impact agriculture across the government, and I look forward to you helping to ensure that. Dr. Hutchins, if confirmed for your role, you're going to oversee the Agricultural Research Service, and I've talked to Secretary Rollins about the importance of ensuring that we are funding innovative and high-impact research that benefits our farmers and ranchers. In Nebraska, we have been working to secure funding for an ARS facility that will be co-located at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and that's going to be focused on precision ag research. Last year, we broke ground on that facility with many agricultural stakeholders present and excited about the potential research to take place there. Dr. Hutchins, should you be confirmed, can I get your commitment to continue to work with me on that facility and to bring high-impact precision agriculture research to fruition?
Senator, thank you for the question. Certainly, the University of Nebraska has a tremendous reputation and capability as a land-grant institution, I do not have any background or information on the specific laboratory and the mission and the purpose with it. What I will certainly commit to you is to learn that. And as we evaluate all the opportunities to work with you to ensure that it provides the best value to U.S. farmers and ranchers.
Thank you. Secretary Rollins has also discussed that she's going to be releasing a reorganization plan for USDA that could entail moving agencies outside of the DC metro. I agree with Senator Rollins that having more USDA employees closer to farmers and ranchers that they serve is a good thing and could save taxpayer dollars. I've also brought up to Secretary Rollins that Nebraska would be a great location for agencies like the ones that you two will be in charge of. Close proximity to a number of leading land-grant universities, a strong agricultural industry that is supported by the state, and a lower cost of living. Dr. Hutchins, you were involved in the last administration's move of ERS and NIFA to Kansas City. Could you talk about some of the benefits from that, and do you think that is something that should be under consideration again?
Senator, thank you for the question. In the case of ERS and NIFA, the business case for that, or the case for the taxpayer, was pretty clear in terms of cost savings and value, and the opportunity to recruit and to retain, frankly, within that area. And as I had mentioned previously today, I don't have a good handle right now on the status of that full situation, but those core principles that Secretary Perdue advocated for at that time are still true today, and so we'll follow up on that. And those same principles, I think, would carry over to any assessment that would be done for any agency in that context. So I think you know, in every evaluation, you want to do the right thing for the agency, for the taxpayers, and for the farmers. And in some cases, it will make a lot of sense. In other cases, it may not make as much.
Thank you. In Nebraska, we're also proud of the work that's being done at the USDA's Meat Animal Research Center in Clay Center, and the strong relationship that they have with livestock producers in the state and across the country. We are the beef state. Like many of the facilities across the ARS enterprise, they are in need of facility improvements. And I've heard, though, that contracting requirements and other regulatory hurdles can increase the cost of these facility improvements, especially at a facility like U.S. Mark, that is a working farm and ranch. From your experience, Doctor, and working with USDA, are there ways that the agency can be more efficient with taxpayer dollars when it comes to being able to identify these very valuable facilities and the work they do, and maintaining them and improving them?
Senator, the simple answer is yes. In every organization I've ever worked in, public and private, there's always opportunity to improve efficiency and effectiveness and really focus on the goals and the outcomes there. And so that would be my commitment to do with these agencies and any enterprise I was involved with.
Thank you both. I look forward to working with you in your new positions. Thank you.
Senator Klobuchar.
Yep, I just have one last question, and then I'll put 2 questions on the record to save time with the votes on local foods of you, Mr. Hoskins, and then also on some specific ag research in Minnesota. But my last question here is the Ag Marketing Service has a mandate to ensure fair and transparent markets across livestock and commodities. Under the previous administration, USDA used this authority with a chief competition officer, cattle contracts library, and some other interagency efforts. Mr. Hoskins, how will you ensure that you are fulfilling this obligation and continuing on this progress of ensuring there's competition?
Thank you for that question, Ranking Member Klobuchar. And I recognize this was one of the issues you raised when I had a chance to meet with you in your office last week now. What I could say, if I were confirmed, I would commit to ensuring AMS, the Fair Trade Practices Program, which includes Packers and Stockyards, PACA, the Perishable Ag Commodity Act, and the Bioengineered Food Disclosure Rule, all kind of that suite of disclosure and transparency authorities Congress has passed and mandated the agency implement. I would commit to ensuring the agency was complying with the congressional spirit and intent of those laws and authorities. Beyond that, as a nominee before the committee, I personally feel like it would be inappropriate for me to speculate on potential or future rulemakings the department may consider or may not consider. I could just commit to complying with the mandate Congress has given us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
We've got a high-level conference back here. We've got a member that's trying to get over here, so we're going to give them a minute, and if they come in a minute or so, we're in good shape. If not, then we'll go ahead and adjourn, but let's give them a chance. So we're going to not adjourn officially for another minute or two, but you can yawn, take a break, do whatever you want to do for a second. It's hard with the votes. We have as many of you know, we have a new, we did not enforce the get over and vote on time rule. It was very, very lax, so they've really tightened it up. And now if you're not over there within a certain period of time, they actually call the vote and you just miss out. So some things we can do and not do, but primarily we're here to vote. So, you guys got any other questions or comments? Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Chairman. The success of California's agriculture industry is at least partially thanks to the very specialized knowledge and work of USDA experts. It's principally the success of the hardworking people in the agriculture industry who are some of the hardest working people I've ever met. But as two examples of the role that USDA experts play, and there are many more, APHIS protects California growers against citrus greening disease, and ARS conducts research on the efficacy and efficiency of irrigated agriculture in vine and tree orchards. Mr. Hoskins and Dr. Hutchins, based on your experience at USDA, can you both briefly speak to the importance of APHIS, AMS, ARS, NEFA, and ERS staff at the department in securing the safety, innovation, and overall success of California's specialty crop industry?
So thank you for that question, Senator. I guess I'll go first, just alphabetically, not in substance. But I would just say, when I think about that question, first from just an APHIS programmatic side, the mandate and authorities, this committee, this Congress, this chamber has given the agency to help work in support and collaboration with your growers, your ag community in California. The California Department of Food and Ag, which plays an essential role as a partner in identifying, mitigating, and preventing both the plant pest side of the equation and animal disease surveillance and response activities. So when I look at that portfolio, no matter where APHIS is or what issue we're talking about, the state partnership is absolutely essential. And CDFA has been instrumental and indispensable in that equation for as long as I've had the privilege to work in this space. To your question on staffing, as someone who's not at the department currently and doesn't have the benefit of internal briefings or assessments of bodies or resources or capacity, all I can say is I've heard Secretary Rollins state publicly her support and mandate that APHIS will ensure an adequate workforce to meet their mandate.
Thank you.
Senator, thank you for the question. I've had the pleasure of traveling your state extensively. I've seen the great agriculture there, from the rice fields near Sacramento to the almond plantations to the Salinas Valley to the cotton. And it's a wondrous place from an agricultural standpoint. It's a candy land for sure. So, and without a doubt, the federal agencies and USDA research, as well as the University of California and the local agencies, have had a tremendous impact on the success of agriculture in your state, particularly with the areas where developing methods and technologies for drought tolerance and so forth. So what I can speak to is the fact that those types of activities have been critically important to California, and they will continue to be.
And Mr. Hoskins, can you comment on the work that can be done to reduce barriers to participation in the commodity procurement programs for small, medium, new, or beginning farmers, and how we can create more opportunities for more farmers to provide healthy food?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Senator. When I think about the commodity procurement program, the Section 32 authority at AMS and their mandate to facilitate surplus removal and how their assessment is done to execute on that mandate. I also think about just some of the complexities that the agency is required to comply with under larger than just USDA authorities or compliance. It's the Federal Procurement Act and the cascade of regulations and steps vendors or participants have to go through to access that program. So I don't pretend to understand that matrix, but what I could commit to is if I were confirmed, I would want to work with you, your office, your staff, this committee, the Senate, to better understand how or if or when the agency can reduce some of those impediments to participation for producers of all size.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Senator Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we're all doing a lot of running right now. You know that. But Dudley Hoskins and Dr. Scott Hutchins, I can tell you without any question, we need you in place, and we need you in place right now. Your duties are going to be unbelievable. And I hope that you really, truly know that and won't go through the motions, but you will really try to do what Muhammad Ali, of all people, said years and years ago. He shook up the world. And that's really what we really need to be doing. Now, just think about this. You know, a lot of times I don't put these notes together, but our folks, you know, just jotted down just a few notes. But think about, one of the notes says, one U.S. farmer feeds 169 people in this country or in the world. It says, agriculture, our lifeblood. It says things like how critical the research of our land-grant universities are. With all that being said, you know, Mr. Hoskins, you said earlier, you know, that your dad would have said, you know, wow, the good Lord created the earth or the universe in 7 days, the earth, and with all that being said, but still hasn't figured out the cattle market. Well, but I can positively guarantee you that in the last couple of years, the good Lord figured out the cattle market, because the cattle market is moved, and it's moved in a great way. We need the same thing to happen for all of our folks in agriculture. You know, see, my family's been in the agriculture business forever, and I truly know exactly what's going on out there. You know, you got a lot of people that are scared to death right now. We need your marketing arm. We need absolutely in every way for you to step up and really make that difference to where you are shaking up the whole world. You know, with all that being said, I would say to you from the bottom of my heart, it is so important. It is so unbelievably important today that we get a farm bill, that we absolutely put our great farmers to where they can at least rest while they're doing the most unbelievable work. You know, so like I said, I've run from boat to boat or whatever and committee to committee in a lot of different directions today. I wanted to speak because I think our chairman is a superstar. That's all there is to it. And there's so many, you know, whether it be your ranking members or other folks on the committee here that do great work. But all these people out here depend now on you in every way. So don't let us down. Have an unbelievable passion for what you're doing. You know, one of the things I am really, not only am I a business guy, I'm not a politician. You know, I am really proud of the fact of how in tune that I am with our farming industry all across this great land. But with that said, in addition to that, I'm a conservationist. I have done so many programs for wildlife, it's unbelievable. You know, and the only question I think that I could possibly ask, you know, of all is just one thing. In the state of West Virginia, we're trying to reintroduce elk into West Virginia. And my question here would be just this, is what additional steps can be taken to the survivability of this majestic creature that is being absolutely reintroduced into West Virginia today? So, Mr. Hoskins, maybe that's a question for you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Senator. I just, and Dr. Hutchins may have other equities here under the ARS umbrella, but my recollection working with APHIS and the first Trump administration under Secretary Perdue, there are some protocols and processes that Veterinary Services works with stakeholder groups and state veterinarians to facilitate the transfer and reintroduction of certain species, including elk. So all I could say, if I were confirmed, I would do my level best to ensure APHIS and VS were working closely with the state animal health officials and the stakeholders interested in promoting that relocation and introduction to facilitate that in a way that did not compromise animal health.
Well, thank you both. I know you'll do great work, and I'll stand ready to try to help any way I possibly can. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
No, thank you, Senator Justice. Senator Welsh.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Very delighted to have you here. Vermont, I wanted to ask a question to Mr. Hoskins about the National Organic Program. In Vermont, we've got 690 USDA organic certified farms, and that's about $153 million in sales. It's a big deal. And our organic farmers want clear, consistent organic regulations. That's the foundation of a thriving organic market. And my hope is that you will, given the recent staff reductions at the National Organic Program, how does USDA intend to maintain support both for transitioning and existing organic producers so that this organic sector that does have a lot of value added can continue to grow?
Thank you for that question, Senator, and to your staff for making themselves available to me to meet in your office before today's hearing. They raised this issue and a number of other priorities you have on behalf of Vermont agricultural producers. in my experience with the AMS National Organic Program, you have absolutely the most committed, informed career officials working to implement that program consistent with the National Organic Food Production Act that this committee and the Senate passed, I think, in 1990. There are challenges at times, in my recollection, with the agency working with different certifiers, especially certifiers that are overseas, certifying product coming into the U.S. I don't know that there's an answer to all of those challenges, but I would say in the 18 Farm Bill, this committee and the Congress passed the Organic Safety Act. I've got the acronym wrong, I apologize. But it basically mandated the department would update and modernize their ability to protect the integrity of the organic seal. And there were ways to do that, both with partnerships with CBP and DHS, and also modernizing technology and resources the agency could use to better pierce that veil in certifiers overseas to ensure products that were coming in were consistent with the same level of attention and practices that our producers execute.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hutchins, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, you have been a champion of acknowledging just the hardship that wild weather is imposing on a lot of our producers. And, you know, we had floods in Vermont in 23 and 24, July, the same day in July, 23 and 24. And you've previously told this committee that USDA is fully committed to supporting research that ensures U.S. producers will be able to adapt to a changing climate. That's welcome news because our farmers think any information we can get will help us. And one of the things I wanted to ask is how can the Research, Education, and Economics mission at USDA help make rural communities and farmers more resilient?
Senator, thank you for the question. As I alluded to earlier, I believe that we have a great opportunity in front of us with regard to the science that leads to the technology that will allow us to develop crops and animals to be more resilient to heat, to be more resilient to drought, whatever the case may be. We need to be able to utilize those tools that exist.
You'll maintain that. You'll do all you can to help there.
Farmers have been dealing with weather year in and year out since farming, and so that will always continue. And the good news is we will have the tools. We do have the tools now to allow them to succeed.
Almost out of time, so just I want to move on to one other question. There was a lot of support in Vermont for the local foods and schools program and the local food purchasing assistance programs. I was very disappointed that those programs were canceled a few months ago. So if you're confirmed, can you work with us to help restart programs like that? They've been shown to strengthen local food supply chains. That's a big deal for us.
Thank you for that question, Senator. This is another issue your staff raised when I had a chance to meet with them. I understand your concern and frustration. Heard a number of different offices and staff raise those same questions. Not being at the department and not privy to the internal briefings or assessments on what programs or needs are being met or should be met, I don't know if I can speak to that directly, but what I would say is under the Ag Marketing Service Agency, this committee and the Senate have directed that agency through different farm bills and other authorities to facilitate local agricultural marketing production and connecting some of that local food resiliency system. So I don't know that it would be carbon copy to what you're hearing or looking at under the LFAP, but there are existing programs where AMS may be able to meet some of those similar needs that Congress has already mandated the agency undertake. So if committed, I would continue to work with the agencies to ensure compliance with the law.
Okay, thank you. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and thank you again to Mr. Hoskins and Dr. Hutchins for appearing before the committee. and again to our committee members for their participation, the hard work of the staff to make all this happen as always on both sides. The record will remain open for 2 business days, and with that, today's hearing is now adjourned.